Hello again. Right, I've been a bit quiet lately because I've been waiting to see how this whole Brexit mess was going to pan out. But it seems that at long last, the end may well be in sight because now we have a Brexit election. Make no mistake about it, it is a Brexit general election. Because 3.5 years ago, our Remain Parliament gave us a vote, a referendum on the EU. It was a vote they arrogantly expected for us to vote to remain in the EU because that was their wish. Once they lost the vote, then they've spent the last 3.5 years doing everything they can to block Brexit. They've been telling us that it's in the best interests of the UK, and they've been scaremongering for 3 years about what distress and destruction Brexit would cause us. They must think we are living in a fucking third world country, that this great country of the UK could not stand on its own 2 feet without the EU. But now, with this election, this is our chance to sort out this mess once and for all. It's also our chance to hold hundreds of MPs accountable for the betrayal of the result of the referendum. So what do we need to do? Well, whether you're a Remainer or a Leaver voter, what we need to do is we need to acknowledge that the past 3.5 years has cast a horrible stain on the democracy of the UK. We need to acknowledge that our MPs have shown a willingness to completely betray the electorate. And we need to acknowledge that the past 3 years has shown that in this country we desperately need a majority government to get anything done. So now this election is our time. It's our time to choose new MPs. It's our time to choose a new parliament, one that will actually obey our commands. Now at this moment in time, there is only one political party out there that has got the capability of forming a majority government. So my message to all voters is this: even if you've never voted for Tories before in your life, it is time now for everybody to ignore all their past political allegiances, because most of the political parties today bear no resemblance to the parties that gained your allegiances many years ago. So even if you've never voted Tory in your life, if you come from a family who's throughout the generations have never voted for Tories, if like many people you think the Tories are nothing but a bunch of Eton toffs, an elitist party for the elite, yeah, even if back in the 80s you had a picture of Maggie Thatcher on your dartboard, yeah, I still implore you that in this one critical election, you give your vote to the Tories. Because only by doing so, yeah, can we gain a majority government and clean up the mess that is Brexit. And even more importantly, to get a majority Tory government is the only way to save the UK from the disaster that would be a Jeremy Corbyn-led Labour government. So yes, I am actually asking Labour voters in this election to please vote for Tory. It's time for Labour voters to be honest with themselves. Forget about the virtues of previous Labour parties where they were a viable alternative to Tory governments. Okay? Look at what the Labour Party has now become. In the last election, the Labour Party stood on a manifesto, to respect the results of the referendum and get Brexit done. This promise enabled Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party to eat in to the Tory party's majority. Okay? And what's happened in the subsequent 3 years is the Labour Party has betrayed millions and millions of its own Labour and Leave voters. Look at your leader, your current leader of the Labour Party. Jeremy, whose side are you on? Corbyn. And ask this leader of yours, when it comes to Brexit, whose side are you on, Jeremy? You're a lifelong Eurosceptic who, in the past 3 years, has not thrown his hat in on one side or the other. Ask this fraud of a Labour leader, when it comes to Northern Ireland, Jeremy, whose side are you on when you're cozying up to the IRA and Sinn Féin? When it comes to the Middle East, Jeremy, whose side are you on when you're cozying up with Hamas? When it comes to the anti-Semitic uproar going on in your own party, whose side are you on? When any time you're asked about it, you're just so non-committal to side one way or the other and try to divert attention to the supposed Islamophobia in the Tory party. Ask the leader of the Labour Party why, for the past 2.5 years, on a weekly basis, he's been begging for a general election. Then when he's given the opportunity to one, he turns it down with the flimsy excuse that he wants no deal taken off the table first. How about getting the election, Jeremy, winning it, and then you can do whatever the fuck you want with Brexit when you're in power? The problem is the man has got no belief in himself and he's got no convictions. Okay? And also, ask him, why is he more interested in the well-being of questionable foreign groups, much more than he's interested in protecting the UK? Never better highlighted in the fact of his constant opposition to the Trident programme, designed to protect this country. But politics isn't just about leaders, okay? We may all think that Boris Johnson is a clown. We may all think that Jeremy Corbyn is a dangerous man, okay? But sometimes in politics, you've got to look past the leaders. You need to see what's standing behind them. And that is where the real danger of us having a Labour government at this time becomes very apparent, very visible. Labour voters, any Labour voters with a modicum of intelligence, cannot, hand on heart, be completely happy with the idea of somebody like Diane Abbott being our new Home Secretary. That's the person responsible for our police, MI5, MI6, our home security. Can we really put them responsibilities in the hand of a woman like Diane Abbott? And no more so can you be happy with the thought of somebody like Emily Thornberry representing us worldwide. Brexit has already caused the UK to become a laughingstock worldwide. You want to exasperate that by putting Emily Thornberry at a table with world leaders around the world. Tom Watson, you want him to be the Deputy Prime Minister, a man who insisted on telling the police to continue harassing old peers based on allegations that had absolutely no fact or substantiation to them at all. A man who should not even be in his position today because of that. How about giving the responsibility as Treasurer to John MacDonald? Do you really want to see the UK bankrupt? But even if you go past them, higher members of Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet, and look at some other questionable characters representing the Labour Party. People like Keith Vaz, people like Valerie Vaz, people like Jess Phillips, people like Andy MacDonald. The thing is, the list with the Labour questionable characters goes on and on. And at least with the Tories, once you look beyond Boris Johnson, at least you are looking at men of intelligence, men with understanding of how to run a country. Now, for any Labour voters who just cannot bring themselves in any circumstances to vote for the Tories and who are looking at the Liberal Democrats as an alternative to Labour, I've got one word for you people: don't. The Liberal Democrats is a shot party led by a very deluded woman. Okay? The Liberal Democrats, when they last had a sniff of power, broke every promise they made, and at the time betrayed every student in the UK. And this betrayal cost them dear, and it's why they've been in the doldrums for the last 5 years. It's why they now only have 12 members of parliament. Okay? Because the Liberal Democrats are a democratic party who are attempting to stage a revival with the undemocratic promise of stopping Brexit. And in their desperation, the Liberal Democrats, they've spied an opportunity to latch on to disillusioned Remain voters and to the chaos in the Labour Party in order for them to try and get a foothold back in Parliament. Now, the Liberal Democrats' concentration on stopping Brexit and on the over-exaggerated climate change concerns, as well as the desperation along with Labour to try and get 16 and 17-year-olds enabled to vote, it shows populist politics at its very worst. So make no mistake, if the Liberal Democrats get another sniff of power, the betrayal will follow once again. So to the electorate, you need to see through this. You need to see through this sham of a party and confine it to the political dustbin it's been in for the past 5 years. So what about the other parties? What of the SNP and the DUP? Two parties, who've used their popularity in Remain countries in order to obtain 45 MPs who regularly come down to Westminster and hold the English to ransom. Now, the Scots had an independent referendum in 2014 in which 55% of Scots wanted to stay in the UK. But the SNP, to all you people in Scotland, have never respected that result. They've never respected your vote. So to then 55% of Scots, I say this. I know you hate Boris Johnson. I know you've got no time for the Tories, But the only way to stop the SNP and Labour, forcing another independent referendum upon you, and turning Scotland into just another puppet state of the EU, just like Ireland has become, the only way to stop this is to vote the Tories in. But if that's what Scotland wants, they want a referendum, they want to leave, they want to remain in the EU, that's fine. Let them do it. Because it's time in this country we started to speak the truth. And the real truth is this. The wealth and the power in the UK is in England, The wealth and the power in England means that this country will always survive and prosper after Brexit. Even the Welsh recognise this, and it's why the Welsh voted to leave the EU along with England. But just a further point now to Brexit voters, I know the temptation to stick your two fingers up at all the established parties, and vote for the Brexit party is very, very overwhelming, But it's not at this time going to help the cause. In the EU election, when Brexit was the most voted for party, that was the time for people to stand up and say they were not happy about Brexit being blocked. So that message has already gone across, But this election needs more. It needs more than for Brexit voters to split the vote between the Tories and the Brexit party. It will not help in achieving Brexit at all. Because in order to do so, we need a clear majority party, and only by having one will Brexit be delivered. So, on top of that, splitting the vote, it will just lead to more delay, more chaos, So if you're voting for Brexit in this election, to anybody, we need to vote for the Tories, So, and if you want to vote to prevent Labour destroying the UK, again, the vote must be for the Tory party. So let the election campaigning begin. Let all the scaremongers come out at us and tell us that if we leave the EU, we're going to fall apart. You know, we're going to run out of medicine, we're going to run out of food, we're all going to fucking starve and die. Yeah? Let all the lefties, yeah, scaremonger us into thinking that the earth is going to collapse by the year 2020. Okay? Right, so let the lies and the false promises, yeah, pour forth. Okay? Let all the bullshit flow for a few more weeks. Okay? But to all you voters, I say this: on voting day, let those of us who know better, let those of us who have the intelligence to see what this country needs, let us put our X in the Tory box. Yeah? And let us get a sensible majority government in power. And let's end this nonsense of the past 3.5 years once and for all. Come on, the UK. Do the right thing. Vote Tory in this election. Till next time, guys, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Take care.